Welcome to lecture 11, and this is the first lecture in module 3. In previous modules you would have discussed about strategic training and other aspects of the training. From this module we are going to focus on training need assessment, which is one of the precursors for what type of a training to be done, who needs training, what is the content of the training, how the deliverable is going to happen. All of the training components is going to be driven from the need assessments. So today's lecture we will be discussing primarily on understanding the concept of need assessment, and also we will also learn why the need assessment is important when you are learning a training and development. Okay, so let us understand why we are talking about need assessment. In any organizational setup, the planning becomes one of the important role, and similar is the case when we are talking about training. Of course, planning the training is important, so that we will be able to effectively design a training program and also deliver a effective training program to the employees. There are two parts of planning in the training program. So what is that? One is about, very importantly, yes, training need assessment. Unless otherwise I do not find out what is the need for a training, you cannot unilaterally decide, okay, I am going to conduct some training program and offer a training program on this particular concept or a particular tool or particular technique. It may be useful, it may not be useful. Some set of employee might require, some set of employee doesn't require at all. Then what are we essentially doing? We are exploiting the resources of an organization, or probably we are also underutilizing the resources for an effective management of an organization. So training need assessment is one of the planning, and the next one is, yes, of course, planning of the training itself, that we will be seeing in the next module, but now we are primarily going to focus on training need assessment. Okay, so now let us understand what is this training need assessment. Training need assessment is essentially a process that identifies what is the current level of knowledge, skills and competency of my employees performing a particular role. Let's say A is a set of tasks. Let me put I, J, K are my employees. So they are performing this particular role. Now I need to compare what are the knowledge, skill and competencies of my employees who are performing this particular task. And when I was comparing this knowledge against the required skill set, so X, I, J, K are my employees. They are having some skill sets, let's say 1, 2, 3, 3. These are their knowledge, skill or competency level. Now I am just comparing against the requirement for performing this role. So for example, A is a job, this to carry out this task A, I need some set of tasks to be skill set, knowledge and competency required. Let me call it X, Y and Z. So these are the skill set required. Now I am trying to compare through the training need assessment to see whether these employees who are assigned to perform this particular task A, are they having the required knowledge, skill, competency versus what they currently have. So when we do this, so we are trying to identify accurate level of present situation. So we are trying to understand what is the current level of my employees' knowledge, skills and ability to perform a particular task, either through a survey or we do a interview or observations. We have supervisors in every role. They will be closely observing how my employees are able to perform the particular job or a task, and also through secondary data or conducting workshops. Through that I will be able to identify the exact current level of the situations. Okay, and then now I will be understanding the gap between the present status. As I say, yes, present status is this is what I require, a desired skill or knowledge or a technical capability of my employees who are going to be assigned to perform this particular task. I am going to compare against the desired level of knowledge versus what is the current positions. Okay, then if you find out is there a gap between this current existing level of knowledge, skill or ability or a competency which is not mapping or meeting the desired state, then there is a gap. That gap is eventually what is becoming, the gap is translated into a training need. When there is a gap which are between the desired state versus the current state, that the gap is becoming a need. So you need to fill that gap by providing the training programs. That's how the training need assessment plays a critical role. So as we say, of course, the training need assessment in two perspectives. One is about identifying the gap, another is identifying the potential opportunities also. Training need assessment not only going to talk about all the time compare the existing and what is the desired state, and also now you look at the disruptions or a kind of technological development happening, or a rapid growth of an industry, or the pace at which the industry is growing, or the technology is changing, or how we carrying out the job is keep changing. It is evolving time to time and it's very rapid now. Given that perspective, yes, organization should look at the training need assessment in two ways. One is about, of course, identifying the gap. So what is the current state versus the performance required, and also we also look at the potential opportunities which are coming up. Maybe some technology which are coming up, IoT we are talking about, artificial intelligence we are talking about, blockchain, all these concepts are growing. Maybe a few years ago people would have felt like how does it going to be relevant for us. Now it has become a part of larger organizational setup. So that's why training need assessment should also assess on the gap as well as the potential opportunities. Especially when you do a comparison, then you will be able to identify a gap. So this gap will be essentially focusing on so desired capability versus the current capability. Is there a difference, or is it meeting it? So the idea is that yes, by identifying this gap, if there is a gap, we need to find out what are the causes and reasons for the particular gap. For example, let's say x minus y, we say there is z is a gap. Now I need to find out what are the reasons and causes that resulting in this particular gap. So that we will be able to eliminate the gap. So elimination of the gap is come through what? By providing the targeted training or a specific training. Okay, specific or a targeted training. Let's say z is the need, this is the reason or a gap which are reason for the gap, then you have to conduct training to improve on the z. Okay, so now what is the purpose of this training need assessment? So to identify the dissatisfaction or any deficiency in the current performance, and also desire for a change among some of the requests which are a purpose for training need assessment. Because the moment you say there is a dissatisfaction, is there a deficiency, there is a complaint which are frequently coming up from particular set of job, then it implies yes, there is a gap or there is a discrepancy exist between what is required and what should be there. Right? For example, in an organizational setup, we continue to get some complaints from a particular process. Then what it is indicating is this complaint becoming very systematic in nature. When it is becoming systematic in nature, yes, there is something which is happening, which are maybe attributed towards the absence of the ability, or probably what is being provided is not adequate enough. So that implies itself that yes, there is a discrepancy existing. So it also provides a learning or a performance gap between a current and a desired conditions. That becomes a need. Okay, so the gap between the current and desired condition is called a need for a training purpose. So training need assessment aims at the following situations: solving a current problem. Yes, a training need assessment try to come up with identifying a need so that that can be addressed, which addressing the current problem, or potentially trying to avoid a past or a current problem through improving the skill level of an employee or a capability of the employee, and creating and taking advantage of a future opportunity. As I was already saying, yes, it is not only about assessing the past or the deficiency, it is also looking at what is the future opportunity we have. Maybe if you are a pioneer in coming up with a new technology or a tool, then you can train your employees so you take the advantage. You will be the market leader in the particular tool or a technology because you are looking at the future opportunity. And providing learning and development growth is also one of the purpose of conducting this training need assessment. Okay, now so as we are looking at we are trying to see the purpose of training assessment through a, to tie the performance deficiency to a working need. As I said, yes, there is a gap between the current state and the desired state, then there is a need, and through this training assessment we are trying to identify the gap and try to address it. So through when there is a problem, performance deficiency, we are identifying, yes, there is a need for it. So how do we conduct analysis? There are two types of analysis we can do. One is about need versus want. What do you need and against what you want? And also we will also look at the feasibility analysis. Through this way we will be able to answer this question of analysis. So what type of a training need analysis I need to carry out, so that I will be able to identify the need for my training programs. So it is also carried out on a particular segment of employees. It may be in a larger level, generally you can do, otherwise also particular set of employees or a group of people to learn more about as much as possible that those who are involved in this deficiency, which we are referring to, yes, which section of the employees having this deficiency in their performance, so that we will have a better knowledge to customize a training program to capture or address the deficiency. So when we find a deficiency D, and you should have a targeted approach through your training. T, I am referring to a training. Okay, so that's why the purpose of training need assessments comes into a picture. Okay, now what level of training need assessment you do? So you have to do it at different levels. One is about organization level, we will also do it job level, and then we will also do it at an individual level. Let us see what do we do on the organization level. It evaluates levels of an organizational performance. As an organization, how do you perform? Okay, so this will determine what skill or knowledge or abilities an agency need. Agency, we are referring to an organization or a company. Okay, so you have to understand what is the performance, current state of a performance of a company. I am not talking about an individual set of employees, we are talking about an overall performance of the company. And for an organization, what are the specific knowledge, skill and abilities you need, so that you will be able to continue to grow, or you will be able to perform better than what you were already. And it determines to what is required to alleviate the problem or weaknesses of a company, as well as to enhance the strength and competencies. So the training need assessment, when you do the organizational assessment, we are trying to look at, okay, so is there a problem? Let's say the problem we are trying to gap. If there is a gap, fill this gap through this training need assessment. And also as we said, future opportunity, tap the opportunity by providing training, forecasting what is the future going to be, so that we can also enhance our existing strength and competencies, so organization can benefit through this. So organizational assessment, when you do, what are the consideration it takes into? It takes into including the changing demographics. For example, look at the number of people who are employed in various age category, or look at the number of women employees coming into your organization. So how do you design your training program or sensitivity training for my employees, so that they are sensitive towards a different section of the employees' needs? Maybe to give an example, in a Western country, where if you take USA as an example, where you see baby bloomers. Baby bloomers are the one who are at the verge of superannuating or retiring. So the older population proportion is large in an organization setup, or even you see that in the same organization you will find different generation of employees are working, Gen X, Gen Y, and then Gen Z we are talking about, and baby bloomers. When we have this, how we are going to provide a training so that all these different generations also work in tandem for an effective performance in organizations. And you should also understand what is the political trend, technology and economy into the perspective. So let's say technology is evolving, growing, new tools and techniques are coming up. When you do, you have to consider all that, so that you will be able to either address the gap or that tap the opportunity. Okay, so now comes occupational assessment. As I said, job assessment. So now it examines skills, knowledge required for an affected organization. What do we say? Why do we say affected organizational group? Where we are referring to deficiency, which section of the employees who are deficient in terms of their performance, where they are not able to meet the desired or expected performance. So the occupational assessment identifies, okay, how and which occupational discrepancies gap exist. Which part of the performance is there a gap? Where is the deficiency actually existing? For example, let's say you start here and then you will end here. So now I need to understand, when I do, okay, which section, maybe process 1, process 2, process 3, process 4. So let's say it's all process. Okay. Now my training need assessment has to identify does the training deficiency comes into this process or which section of it. So that you will be able to know and provide a better training program to address the specific discrepancy arising out of it, so that it can eliminate any discrepancy or gaps in the deficiency which we are observing in a occupation. Now comes individual assessment. Yes, I said a broader level organizational analysis I have done. Next I have come to an occupational assessment. Now having done the occupational assessment, I am getting into the individual level. So now I am coming to the each employee's assets. It analyzes how well an individual employee is doing the particular job and determines whether that person's capacity to do a new or a different work. Okay, so this also provides information on employees, what type of a training he needs, what kind of a training, what is the need of a training, all that will be provided when you do an individual level assessment. What is the current capacity of the individual, what is his or her capacity to do a new task which will be provided to he or she. So then it will tell us, okay, what type of a training need is to be provided to those employees. Okay, now what is the importance of this training need assessment? Because it helps to identify the knowledge gap, which is the current against the desired, and also good use of training resources. It will help us to see how do we use the training resources. We are talking about material or a tool, how do we use the training resources, and it also helps in avoiding wasting time on irrelevant contents. For example, I have identified X, Y, Z. These are my deficiency. Now let us say the training which are scheduled, which is focused on, let us say A, B, X, Y, Z. If I provide a training program on all this, but this is what I require, but my training content is this, what are we doing? Essentially we are wasting time in covering this A and B, which is not required. So training need assessment will help me to say, come on, you don't need this because these are my needs, let us focus only on X, Y, Z. Similarly, it will also help in review a current and past training. Let us look at what was the previous training provided, what is the effectiveness of the training program, how effective it is helping in employee improve their performance on the deficiencies we identified. And it also helps to prioritize the training need. See, you will be identifying several training needs. Out of this training need, you need to prioritize. How do you prioritize? You know the causes of deficiency. Now on these causes, you will list down 1, 2, 3 on a priority, which is having a larger impact on the performance. Then you need to focus training on the highest priority. So it will help you to identify, okay, which training to be provided at what phase, when do you start, which has to be essentially provided, which can actually can maybe done or hold for some more time. So this also helps in prioritizing the training needs, and it also communicating the results to the higher management. Yes, it will say, okay, we have done a training need assessment, we are identifying there is a potential opportunity and there is also a deficiency. Okay, now, so how do you identify the knowledge gap? So because when we conduct this training need assessment, we are looking at, okay, against the current versus the desired state, and we also help us to know employees to take up as a potential problems and tackle it head on rather than becoming aware of the skill gap. So we are interested in filling, not only becoming aware, but we are interested in addressing the problem. And as I've already said, yes, how do you use the training resources will help in identifying, okay, who is needing what type of a training program, because somebody may be needing a training on how to use the tool, somebody may be needing a training on conversational skills or interpersonal skills. So you need to identify, okay, what type of training resources can be used for targeting the specific training need, and what are the advantages of training need assessment. It helps to determine employees who need training through performance evaluations. Specifically, if you look at this training need assessment is going to tell me, let's say this is an organization. I don't need to do training program for everybody in an organization because it is going to cost me huge. Do I really need to provide? No, I'm going to provide through this training. I will be identifying maybe subsection of my organization. Then I will identify, okay, I think this subsections requires a training. So this training need assessment determines the employees who need training through either through performance as a evaluations or a self assessment, or through conducting a focus group discussion or customer feedback, etc., which will identify, okay, who requires training to helps to improve their learning and also their professional growth. So training need assessment saves an organizations the larger cost or maybe unnecessarily spending on a training program which are not relevant. Okay, it helps to identify the performance gap. As I said, yes, it is objectively seeing what is the current state of my performance and what I am looking at it. For example, let's say I want my particular production floor is to want me to produce 1000 units a day, okay, per day, whereas I am seeing there is 700 units only they are producing. Now the gap is what? 300. So through this training need assessment, I am trying to identify, yes, 300 is short of the target. What is the reason? What is the causes? Through this I am able to identify the performance gap. It encourages both existing and new employees to take competency assessment so that the new need for training can be identified and areas which need attention also is identified through this training need assessment. Okay. And it also help to direct resources to priority areas to meet business goals. As I said, yes, there are priority areas. Based on that, now you will be able to direct the resources. You don't need to, as per the priority, you will be able to spend resources for those needs rather than the other one which are not, though it is important, but it can be go on a later point in time. So it helps in preventing unnecessary training, and it saves a lot of money and resources and time of both an organization also employee. And another thing, it helps to improve the efficiency, productivity of level of an employee, because the outcome of a training need assessment itself is scheduling a training program, conducting a training program. What is it going to do? It is going to improve the efficiency and productivity level of an employee. So the workforce also will be able to gain competence. Let's say I am an employee. Through training need assessment, my organization identified that yes, these are the deficiency, and they are giving a targeted training program through which I am going to develop my competency, my knowledge or skill level is going to improve, and I will become more productive. So this will also improve employee engagement, means very active, spending, concentrating more on my job, and it will also improve my morale because my company helps me to improve upon my knowledge and skills. Okay. Then it also improves the quality of a service because, as I said, yes, training always helps to meet the desired goals and helps to train the right employees for the right job. We know that yes, some skill gap is there, that's why training need assessment been done, and I am providing a specific training so that you improve upon and you act on your job very well. And it also help collect qualitative and quantitative data. It stores as a repository to, you will revisit it as an organization to see what type of assessment we have done. And as I said, yes, of course, it is going to help you to prioritize the training needs so that employees become more innovative, efficient, and it becomes reflect through their creativity in their job, and helps in achieve higher return on investment. Finally, companies are interested in ROI. I am expecting what could be the return against the investment which I am making. For example, I am investing X amount, I always expect X, the 2x or more than what I invest. So organizations can achieve more return on investment through training programs, and it of course provides an opportunity for learning and development through a proper training program. Okay. Now let us also look at fairly look at what are the disadvantages of doing this training need assessments. See, one is about, yes, this assessment is a time consuming process because you need to develop survey, assessment, maybe somebody have to observe the current performance, somebody has to develop a benchmark against a desired performance, because we are always looking at the gap, right? Gap becomes a need and also the opportunity. So when we are talking about gaps and opportunity as a need, then you are spending a lot of time in developing a survey or conducting a focus group discussions or a proper assessment or observations. You can talk about any method of training need assessment. It is going to take a lot of time, and it also requires a lot of effort on this matter. So it is a time consuming process. Of course, it is beneficial in a long run, but if you look at the disadvantages, yes, it's time consuming. Maybe let's say the process itself is going to stay for a very brief time, and we do a training need assessment, or then it is a time consuming process. It's going to cost you the money for you as well as for an organization. Then training in itself conducting training program itself is a time consuming, as you know, it will be conducted during the office hours. So many man hours will be spent on the training program. For each employee, it will look like, you are putting your time for those many number of days. Let's imagine 5 days is your training program. Okay, so what you will feel as an individual employee, you will feel that yes, I'm spending my 5 days. But imagine for the training program there are 40 employees. So 40 employees attending 5-day training program. So meaning that each employee is spending 40 hours on a training program. Then 40 is almost 1600 hours, man hours are being spent on a training program. So if you look at this, volume is large. So training itself is time consuming, unless otherwise it is going to be highly productive, it is so demanding, it is necessary, then it is going to be a disadvantage. Okay, yeah. Then training assessment is very expensive in the sense we have to develop a tool, we have to develop an assessment framework, and then also we need trained people who can conduct this assessment. So it requires multiple sessions. It will prove to be expensive for an organization, either because most of the time organization may not have adequate resource internally. Internally, I refer to, if you have trained people within your organization, yes, fine, fair enough, you can use them because you already hired them and paying them. But in case if you do not have sufficient capacity within your organization, you will have to hire an expert or a consultancy organization, and they're going to charge you more. Right? So that will be expensive process, and by the time you complete the training, as I said, no, it's a time consuming process, you might feel that become redundant, that particular assessment what you did become redundant because things have changed. As I was saying, maybe you are doing a training assessment for a tool Y, and by the time you complete the deficiency and this Y process become redundant, maybe you are no more producing the particular product, you are no more going to use the tool, then all your effort is become of no use. So that's why these are some of the disadvantages. Though we are talking about disadvantages, but it is also important, unless otherwise you are not designing a training which are based on a need or which are based on a wants of an organization, then primarily all your resources will be of no use, or rather you will direct or spend your resource on which are not useful exercise of this conducting the training program. Okay, so these are the references, and today we discussed about the concept and the purpose of the training need assessment. We will be discussing in more detail about how to conduct the training need assessment, what are the techniques and tools in the subsequent lectures. Okay, thank you.